Hello, and welcome to the first to make a game in like a week. Yeah, I missed last week's, mostly because there wasn't enough to actually do a video about. Also, I was kind of busy around that time, so what have I been up to? Well, you can probably see one of the main things right there. Yeah, it's a work in progress with a horrible face, and yeah. I was let me just fire this up here. Oh, let me get rid of this thing and this thing first. Hide it, and you can go over here on my other monitor. Yeah, I didn't do much programming. As you can tell, the inventory window is still stuck there, and it doesn't have an inventory in it. But what I do have is the start of a character. She's not quite finished. The texture is just flats that I threw in. I was curious as to how the toon shader worked. And frankly, the toon shader is actually pretty darn good. Yeah, basically I've just been experimenting. I got tired of poking around with the code, so I decided to work on some character design work, which, let me see if I can get Photoshop here. There we go. Let me see here. No, that's the UV map. See, it's just flat colors. There will be more detail in the actual thing. It's just I wanted something so that I could see how the shader interacted with a texture layer, etc., etc. Actually, I really like the toon shader. Although I really hate laying out UV maps. Ugh. If anybody hasn't done that, you have no idea how painful it is. But yeah, I started working on... Where can I start? Nope, that's not where I want to be. God damn it. Stop being a pain in the butt here. Here we go. Yeah, that's one of it. Where's the other one? Damn it, I don't want to use that. I want to use Open Recent Concepts. Here we go. Alright, so I got tired of working on the code side of things and decided I wanted to work a little bit on the visual design of things. So I started trying to come up with the main character, and these are some of my early sketches. They are... yeah. Too much nose there. Don't like the outfit, and the hair is kind of crap, and that's... eh. That looks too much like one of my other characters, and just no. So I made some more. This is the concept for the uncle. Probably will not look anything like that. So I started refining, and I kind of like the one on the end here with the coat. So I kind of went more finalized. It's like I started with this one. I kind of like the hair outfit, but I hated the outfit, so I thought maybe more casual with a coat. Didn't like the overhanging shirt. Didn't like the blue. And then I ended up with something like this, and this I kind of liked. So then I made a more useful sheet for modeling purposes. There's a reason why you do this, the T-pose, and it's for binding the character. These lines are just to make sure that the profile matches. The profile is less... it more or less exists for finding the lines. This was just me experimenting with a color scheme. Nothing too big. Pretty much this was the important part, having the basic character layout to work with. And then I took that and I dropped it into Maya. Yes, I use Maya. Which gives... there's my current mesh. If you can tell here, there's a few parts here that need help, like the feet, still. The face isn't that bad, actually. It needs some smoothing, which is something that I will be doing. Because if I go mesh, smooth, blink, it suddenly looks a bit better. So I'll be using a smooth mesh, and yeah, it just adds more geometry, so it'll deform better too. So basically, what I'll be working on is getting this character actually ready to go. But I got to this point, and I was kind of wondering, okay, how... I've never actually imported the character models into Unity before. I may have imported models, but I haven't imported one that's rigged. So I put together a basic skeleton. This doesn't have nearly enough joints in the spine. Or the ponytail. I think I need to add like an extra joint there. And for some reason my IK handles are busted. Yeah, they don't straighten. I modeled it straight, but they bend when I put the IK handle on. I forget why it does that. It's been a while since I've done this. I need to put in pull vectors and all sorts of crap like that. But I was starting to work on putting together a basic rig and thought, well, wait, I don't actually know how Unity handles importing characters. So pop over to Unity. Which also led me to thinking, hey, they've got a toon shader. How's that look? So I put together the basic thing. The toon shader I actually really like. This is the unsmooth mesh, which is why there's some geometry issues on the feet. And the eyes aren't, the eye openings aren't particularly smooth. But, I mean, I like the toon shader. I really do. So I think I will actually be using it. I would like to note that while I do like the toon shader itself, I do not like... Come on, let me edit things. There we go. They do have a lighted outline. The outlined one I do not like. I do not like these automatically generated outlines because they never work right unless you model the character very specifically for it. It's like it works, but it always looks really janky. I mean, you look over here by the... Hold on, over here by the hand, you can see how there's these ghost lines and so on. This is always the case, and it's because of how they are actually creating the outline. Effectively, all they're doing is duplicating the mesh, extruding it a set amount, and inverting it, and then painting it black. So basically, you're doubling the amount of geometry just to get the outline. It doesn't work well, it doesn't... No. But I like the flat shading. I'm probably going to use a slightly more detailed painting style for the textures, because I do like the lighted one. But yeah, use the slightly more detailed texturing style rather than just the flats. Give it maybe a little bit of a watercolor or ink maybe look, and let the toon shader do the shading, which always looks better than trying to manually toon shade a character like this. And I don't think it looks too bad really, especially when you zoom out, and the character will... You're never going to be super zoomed in on the character, most likely. But the face needs just a little bit more work in a few spots around the eyes and so on. But here's the other thing that I was experimenting with, and that is, how does it handle bone structures? Now, let's see here. Here's the mesh. Here's this. Here's the bones. It actually imports the bones and the weighting, which I figured it would, but the important part is the bones can be manipulated individually, which is exactly what I was hoping for, meaning undo that. Why am I not undoing? I'll just have to remember not to save that when I'm done. For some reason, it's not storing the undo. Oh, it's because it's still playing. Never mind. But yeah, I mean, you have the bone joints, and the bone joints work. So I'm going to have to name these properly so I can actually find the damn things. But, like, this is the joint for the head. So I can put a script on here and have this joint turn to look at the targets, and then the head will turn to look. And I can have joints for the eyeballs so that the eyes can move independently of the head. With some proper constraints and so on, it'll look very natural and be very nice. And that's exactly what I was hoping for, and I'm glad to see it, because it's useful for that. It also means that I can do things like joint the ponytail. I would like to point out, however, that this is a completely unweighted. I did not paint the weights, I just rough bound it just to see how the bones interact within Unity, which is why there's no animations yet. I still have to do the binding. But, yeah, see? Now, binding's a bit of a pain in the butt, because if you look here, see how her entire hip collapsed when I rotated that out? That's where skin weights come in, and that is a tedious process that will probably take me an entire day to do. Well, do properly. Because, yeah, there's stuff attached there that shouldn't be. And if we come down here to the knee, and we bend that, that actually works fairly well. So that works fairly well indeed. So if I play with her in that pose, she's like, "Ah, my leg!" Etc. I don't know if there's a way to import dynamic stuff, such as jiggle deformers or anything like that from Maya. I doubt it. It does have a built-in... Let me see if I can find it here. Cloth deformer, which can be applied to a mesh that allows some, secondary movement, which I'll probably want to put on the hair and possibly the coat to some extent, because it does make it seem a little bit more natural. But you can't just blanket apply it, because the entire face starts to sag and things get really creepy really quick. But anyway, that's pretty much what I've been up to over the last week and a half or so, is just experimenting with this stuff. The other thing that I've been doing is... thinking about the storyline and so on. And, well, I may as well comment on that a little bit. Let me get this over here so I can see how much time we've got. Let's see. It's still being developed, and I haven't done any physical writing about it. But if you remember the story idea that I had, which should be up here, this little blurb here. The character, you may have noticed from the file names, for some reason I have been calling her Strife in my head. It's probably not going to end up being her name. The idea is actually pretty simple. She's the storyline revolves around her visiting her uncle. It's going to be her uncle for basically the summer. Maybe not the entire summer, but like a couple weeks or a month or something like that. The exact length of time doesn't actually matter that much in the terms of the game, aside from just, window dressing. Basically, he's incredibly rich, but also absolutely crazy. But he's rich enough that instead of being labeled crazy, he's labeled eccentric. And her parents don't want them to be written out of his will, so they are doing things to, string him along, I guess? So he's the one who picked her name, which is why it's something really odd. I wanted something, gamey. And I was thinking, like, naming her Cloud or something, but I don't really know if I can get away with that, since, you know, they're both going to be game characters, and Cloud is an actual game character, and I can't actually reference Final Fantasy VII. Even though I want to, so it'll probably end up being some fictional game within the setting that's an analog to something probably more current than Final Fantasy VII, but regardless. But that's why I've been calling her Strife in my head, because it's Cloud Strife, and I didn't want to use Cloud. I don't know, the name doesn't really fit, so it hasn't stuck, but it's going to be something weird like that, that she probably holds against her uncle for naming her that. Her uncle thinks that whatever game or book or movie or story or whatever that he pulled the name from actually happened, and has set up his, basically for the terms of the part of the game that I'm actually going to work on, it's going to be his, like, backyard, as, like, this training ground to teach her how to be like the hero in the video game, etc., and she doesn't want to have anything to do with it, stuff like that. That's the kind of direction that the storyline's kind of going in my head. I need to sit down and write that all out at some point, but that will take some time. And there's so much to work on. So much to work on. There was like one little bit of code that I was tweaking, and that's the highlight script, because I found out that it doesn't actually rotate with the character rotation, and it does now. The reason why this one's so busted is actually pretty simple. In all of these pre-generated stuff in the code itself, the box is based around having the pivot point in the middle. The character model that I made in Maya has the pivot point at the middle bottom of the feet. So that's why this is all off. That's easy to fix, I just haven't yet. I just need to center the pivot in Maya, and then all the code will work properly. It's the same reason why the text is stuck in the middle of the head of the cylinder replacement in the corner there. But yeah, I mean, that's what I've been working on. It's not a whole lot of progress, but it's a lot of just poking, prodding, practice, and brushing up on my how the hell to use Maya. It's not something I've had the opportunity of using properly in a while. And it's actually really nice to be working with it again. So for next week, my goals are get the character rigged properly, get the model cleaned up properly, get the texture better than just these flats. It's still going to be pretty flat textured, because I want to have... I really like that clean cel-shaded look. But you need like some texture within the hair and some detail work, like pockets, and I like the elbow patches from the thing. This coat's the wrong color, stuff like that. There's a bunch of little things that need tweaking in the model, and the patch on the jeans. I actually like the patch on the jeans. We'll see if I can actually get that to look right, especially since I have it currently set up so that the it's mirrored left to right on a lot of the textures, so that I have more room on the texture thing. Because, yeah, it's just more efficient use of space when you have symmetrical surfaces to work with. Yeah, I mean, mostly it's just smoothing around the eyes, particularly here, because you get these hard lines. The hair needs some more geometry. The shoulders definitely need more geometry, or they will deform horrifically. Same thing with the legs. But for the most part, that's just smoothing and then tweaking some stuff with the mesh. That's pretty easy. I will leave you to stare at this incredibly terrifying rig. Looks like Jar Jar Binks. Ugh. Ugh. Anyway, till next time. Telk out.